Hi, Penny Lane here. I've got lots of tips, tricks, and best practices for you on time and materials or cost plus invoicing in QuickBooks in my job costing intensive program. But in this particular video, I'm going to share with you a very specific and little known tip about cost plus invoicing if you want to show the bill and vendor details on your customer invoice and you want that information to pull in automatically. So here's the dilemma. For this particular scenario, I'm going to enter a bill. It could be writing a check, entering a credit card charge, whatever, for Home Depot for some framing materials. I'm going to enter this just like normal. Home Depot is my vendor. 1234 is my invoice number. This is framing materials. I'm going to override this description, and I'm going to put in a specific description that I would like to show on my customer's invoice. Put in the amount, customer job name. Now, wouldn't it be great if I could get this vendor information as well as this invoice number, as well as this custom description that I've typed in to show on my customer's invoice when I pull this into the bill? That would be fabulous. But currently, when I create this invoice, there's no option for me to do that. I see here that my description, even though I typed over it, is still framing materials, and there's no option here on the invoice or when I'm pulling this charge in to show the vendor name or the reference number from the vendor from that bill. It seems perfectly logical that I could pull this information in. After all, the data is available. But most perplexing, my description also has reverted back to the item description, which is really frustrating. Here's the solution. First, go to your item list and clear out the item description on both purchase and sales transactions. Now, this can be a real catch-22 if you don't do exclusively or mostly time and materials or cost plus invoicing, and you like that default description to show up on your purchase and sales descriptions. But if you do mostly time and materials, or you do it enough and you need this information badly enough, this is a great option. So we're going to delete this information just for an example, and we're going to enter that same bill again. Now, notice no description shows here now. And this can be a negative, like I said, if this isn't your main deal or you only need this to happen every once in a while. But if it is what you do a lot of, which has been the case for me in the past, it's an absolute time saver. So now I'm going to go ahead and type in here 2x6 pressure treated because I want this to show on my customer's invoice. Now, what about the reference number? This would be generally the vendor's invoice number to us, or the ticket number. There really is no way to pull that field in, so I'm just going to type it in down here. And I could just type it as a number. I could just type invoice number 1234, something like that. Then I put the cost here. Now, if I wanted to, I could also type the vendor name here, but this is getting to be a lot of typing. If I want to be really efficient, and I'm not using classes for anything else, I can actually use the class field for my vendor, and it makes a nice field that I can just easily populate onto any bill. And I can add the class column to my invoice template, which you'll see in a moment. Now I'm going to go create that customer invoice again. I'm going to choose them both just so we can see the difference here. Aha! So now, even the pressure treated that I typed in the description before, when there was an item description, is showing up. The trick here is that I have no item description in the default in the item record. And then I can type whatever I want at any time, and I'll get my customized description. Notice that everything I typed on that second bill is here. But also notice that I don't necessarily have to type Home Depot in here, because if I use the class field to populate the vendor, it will actually show up in the class field. And I can change the class field description, by the way, by customizing the data layout of my template and clicking to the columns tab. And instead of calling this class, what if I called it vendor? or employee, because I can also use that field to put the employee name on the timesheet. And when I use this to put employee time on the timesheet, it will also show the employee name if I so choose. That's my quick tip in a nutshell. If you'd like more tips, tricks, best practices, and even musts about time and materials or cost plus invoicing in QuickBooks, please check out my job costing intensive program. You can learn about it at jobcosting.com. Click on the QuickBooks training tab.